All right, I'm just before you start recording.
Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I am Adam Savage.
And I'm Norm.
I'm Will Smith.
I was the only one without
Smith.
a contraction. I am.
It's good. It's good that we keep it different every time. You know, some people might accuse us of phoning these in at some point after. We're coming up on 100 episodes, I think. We're getting close.
Kidding me.
No way.
Yeah, I think it's not. We're not too far off.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we don't number these, so I have no idea. But you can look at the feed and tell. I'm sure someone will affect
How do you like your Pebble there? Are you happy with it?
We both have one.
What's that?
Yeah, we are.
Good.
I'm happy with it.
Did you wonder Twin Powers? Can you exchange calendar items by high-fiving?
No.
What the hell?
And you know, the Google Watch you can talk to and say, "Okay, Google, tell me what time the movie starts."
All I want to say is, it's Dick Tracy.
Why can't you video conference? Why not? Why, God?
Stupid phone, can't video conference, stupid watch. Hey,
Only tells time.
speaking of technology, how about the Supreme Court's amazing Fourth Amendment win decision this week?
The cell phones.
The cell phones.
We talked last week now.
Did we already talk about it?
Maybe the week before.
No, we haven't.
No, we Norm and I talked about it on the other podcast.
Right.
But yeah, it's like the fact that the traditionally very untechnologically savvy Supreme Court came down and said,
Yes.
Look, this thing is not just a phone. It's not like it's an extension of a wired phone that came out of your wall. It is a combination of a fax machine, a Rolodex, an 8-track player.
On the tail end of their semi-strange opinion about whether a concept is patentable.
That was
Right? Whether their decision
math
betrays a deep misunderstanding of what an algorithm is.
Yes.
So it makes one very afraid for the future when your courts don't have the technological savvy or even seemingly often the desire to get the savvy in order to make a proper legal judgment.
I feel like that is self-correcting over a period of half centuries.
But there's been so many decisions in which appellate courts and circuit courts make decisions that are based on such a limited knowledge of what a website is and what hyperlinking is, that for the Supreme Court to define a phone as something that's deeply embedded across your entire life with data in the cloud so that the phone is not even merely a storage device, but an access point. Therefore, it has much broader protections that the founders would have absolutely given it. Made me so happy to read.
Well, there were a couple of interesting technology judgments that came down last week because the Aereo decision came down at the same time.
Yes.
And if you don't know what that is, they are a company that was basically sharing. They were selling antennas across the internet. Yeah. So they were saying
the reason is because you can get a broadcast television signal as long as you have an antenna that can receive it.
Right.
So Aero was streaming a television signal to you via the interwebs
and saving it and linking cloud services. So
but their assertion was that they had an antenna in their building with your name on it, and that was your antenna you were renting to them.
So the phone thing was a unanimous decision, right?
9-0.
Right. There was no dissent. The Aero thing, there was a dissent. It was a 4-5 split, I think. And the majority basically said, hey, this is just some bullshit you guys came up with to bypass copyright restrictions and not have to pay the networks.
Was that Robert, Scalia, Thomas?
I think Thomas was on the other side. I can't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember what the breakdown was, so I don't want to say. But the dissent was actually really, even the majority said, look, we want this. This is a ruling about copyright and paying for broadcast rights of copyrighted material, not about cloud services related to copyrighted material. So they came out and were very explicit.
They tried to limit their decision.
This was about loopholes, closing loopholes in copyright, not disallowing innovation in the cloud.
Oh, that's sorry. It just occurred to me. You know that figure of speech for someone whose name is also a sentence about what they do, like the Russian driver whose name is pick up and drop off.
I've never heard of this before.
Click and Clack do this all the time. The end of every Car Talk episode, it's all these funny names of.
I bet they get a lot of funny
NPR
names.
show I don't like.
Oh,
you don't like Click and Clack?
I don't like Click.
It's way better than Prairie Home Companion.
Click and Clack is great. Those guys are wonderful. And they're super smart.
Yes, I agree.
But so yeah, there's a name for this construction of a name that describes what you do. And I thought, our executive in charge of legal wrangling would be loophole.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Esquire.
You should save these for your guest spot on Car Talk.
Why save such gold when I can spread it out to the world?
The descent on the arrow thing.
Yeah, sorry,
though,
go ahead.
No, it was interesting because the descent was basically, look, the dissent said, hey, the Constitution does not have us here to close loopholes. That's Congress's job. We're just to enforce the law as written.
Right.
And this does not violate the law as written. It is a loophole. That is what lawyers are supposed to do, is find loopholes.
Right.
So I think
Make
actually
better
the
laws.
That's
conservatives.
interesting. I'll bet the split was quite interesting. There,
It was as I remember it was as a completely uninformed outsider. It was an interesting, because I think the strict constructionists were on the dissent rather than the
right.
majority.
So that would be interesting.
Anyway. So where's your segue now, Chan? You saw a movie about
I
apes.
got nothing. I got nothing.
I thought you meant an actual segue.
Yeah, I was waiting for
I've
it.
got
Technology.
one.
I
but
figured you've been
didn't
working
bring
on it all this
Wow.
time.
Well, Norman and I had a fun night last night.
Mm-hmm.
We went and saw the world premiere, which rarely happens here in San Francisco. We saw a world premiere of Rise of Planet of
Dawn.
Dawn. Sorry, Dawn. Rise.
In my mind, I get those mixed up too.
Dawn
You
of Planet
think
of the
Dawn
Apes.
comes before Rise.
Well, no,
but
Rise
it's
is
Rise before Dawn.
Rise is when Ricardo
before
Montalban
Dawn.
brings the ape out of the circus.
At any
and-
rate, we saw the new Planet of the Apes film.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
I hear it's a thinking man's Planet of the Apes.
I don't know what your opinion is because we didn't actually get to chat afterward. So let's both tell Will what our rating out of 5 or out of 10 is.
Just close your eyes and hold up a number of fingers.
If I had to give a rating out of 5,
Give it out of 10.
Out of 10.
out of 10. Oh,
Yeah.
great. Okay, hold on just a second. Let me just think this one all the way
Okay,
through.
Adam's thinking about it. Norm already has fingers in the
Oh,
in
really?
the air.
He does?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's making for great radio.
I'm going to say,
Oh, unanimous decision.
really?
7s.
Yeah,
all
7
around.
out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very enjoyable.
Yes.
Okay.
Very enjoyable.
Intense. Look, I liked the first one.
Did you watch the first one again before going to
I
see
did
this?
not. Did
I don't
you?
remember
No, I
anything
didn't.
about
I
the
would have
first one.
expected-
But I,
You too.
but I enjoyed the first one.
What?
I enjoyed the first
Yeah,
one.
I did too. I thought the performances were terrific.
Yeah.
What's the gist of the first one? Is the ape
The
gets...
gist of the
Wait, is this
first
a
one
spoiler
is
cast?
that
Yeah, this should be a spoiler cast.
this is
From
a
this point,
spoiler
spoilers.
alert.
Spoiler cast.
2, well, not 2 in a row, but we'll have another one between this and the last one. Spoiler cast.
So, the premise of the first one is it's Ape Zero,
Mhm.
right? So it's the rise of the Planet of the right.
Rise.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes is about the experimentation that leads to the hyper intelligent ape Caesar, whose caretaker is played by James Franco, and it is about how Caesar becomes hyper intelligent and other apes also because of a virus, the simian flu virus, which also happens to have the negative quality of wiping out 499 out of every 500 people on Earth.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a... It's
Well,
like,
have we talked about Planet of the Apes, the franchise, on this podcast?
We never
before?
have
It's
before.
a storied franchise. I mean, this is
This is its
technically
third
the
reboot.
The third reboot?
well, second
Reboot, but the third iteration because the Tim
What
Burton
about
one.
the Tim Roth, Marky Mark one?
That's the second. That's
That's the
first
second
reboot.
one. That's the first reboot.
Oh, right.
Right, I would
Sorry.
call that
this
the
is the
first
third
reboot.
iteration of
Yes.
Planet of the Apes.
Yes. So the Marky Mark,
It's still Untitled, where semantics is really what we do.
the
We're gonna waste your time discussing things. You're probably yelling at the computer. Get on with it. Sorry,
Tim
go
Burton
ahead.
one doesn't matter. That one was terrible. University.
What's that?
Tim Burton one, I think, doesn't matter. No one should remember that. I thought it was terrible.
It has two things
Yeah.
that are totally amazing in it. One, all of Rick Baker's apes. Every single one of them, mind blowing. Two, Tim Roth.
Tim
Boom.
Roth is really good.
Unbelievable. And I will tell you that Rick Baker told me.
That's a... Yeah, okay.
How about that? I could start a story like
Yeah.
that. Rick Baker told me that they showed him a list of actors they were thinking about casting for Apes, for Planet of the Apes. And he said, all these guys are fine. Please, 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 for the love of God, do not cast Tim Roth. His nose is too big and I won't be able to deal with it in ape makeup. Boom! They cast him as the lead ape.
Oh, man.
And
The lead
actually...
villain.
that makeup is amazing. The way it moves on his face is incredible.
That movie has the best supporting materials, because when you go and watch the DVD for that movie, which I own, it goes through the whole ape school that they sent everybody
Yep.
to, Tim Roth and Hellbound, and they all learned how to move like the appropriate kind of apes, and the movie was still really bad.
Yeah.
So
Phenomenally awful.
Okay,
was in that.
Marky
Moving
Mark
on from
doesn't
that
like to be called Marky Mark.
It's worth
also
mentioning that movie because that was the last Planet of the Apes movie where they actually used makeup. You said Rick Baker, and it's they actually when they cast the actors, it's for their ability to portray like apes in costume.
to Andy Serkis, but in real life.
And this movie and the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the Frank Franco one was all CG apes, combination of CG and some practical stuff.
But they hired. Excuse me.
This podcast is brought to you by Diet Coke.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Andy Serkis. So they're gonna have to come up with a new definition of acting in order to give him an award because one, he's a goddamn genius.
I think it's acting. He is lobbying
acting,
for
but
the
Hollywood
longest time.
they still call them motion
not a
capture
puppeteer,
performers, right?
Right?
No, he's not, and he's giving a full performance. And he did this for Gollum, and then he did it for King Kong, and he did it for Planet of the Apes, the first one, and for this one.
And movies like Tintin, he was in that, and those movies and this movie, when they're doing the motion capture, they're also doing the voices,
The
it's
vocal performance, right?
It's the full stuff, just like you could say like Avatar, it was motion capture and the voice performance. And CG artists will say you can still see the touch of the animator, what the animator brings to it,
of course,
and what they're going to tweak to it. But with the face stuff, because these motion capture rigs are dots on faces plus cameras pointing at their faces.
Yeah.
It's mostly the actor.
Cameron, when James Cameron visited Mythbusters, we talked a bunch about that. And he said, frankly, it's true actors have trouble acting in empty sets with no props around them. At the same time, there are also a lot of actors that really love the freedom of it's only the performance.
It's like acting in front of a mirror.
It's like a black box theater.
Right. And it's just, it's really pure. And they can, because you don't have 75 people around holding shit up so that everything can happen perfectly, the actors can really concentrate and watch the performances and say, I want to tweak this, I want to get this better, I want to do this right. And he said that, that from a collaboration process, the actors found that really liberating.
So I mean, the argument for me in favor of making what Andy Serkis does, just going ahead and calling it acting, is that he's the only person that's performing at that level. In that constraint that we've seen.
He's now one of the masters of it. There are other people who are great physical performers, like Doug Jones, who has been in countless movies. If you look at his IMDb, he's been your favorite monster in every movie.
In video games, Nolan North. And
but also in Dawn of Planet of the Apes, they have Judy Greer plays one of the apes.
And who's Judy Greer?
Judy Greer is a actress who is a wonderful actress. She was on Californication, but she's been she played
she's the secretary in Arrested Development.
Did she play the girlfriend, the secret girl on Truman Show?
No,
that's Natasha something.
That's Natasha McElhone. No, Judy Greer plays the wife of Matthew Lillard in The Descendants.
Oh, okay.
That's probably the most recent.
She's in like Sprint commercials right now. The weird Sprint.
Judy Greer is a great unsung actress that is amazing and always makes movies she's in better. She's like a female Don Cheadle, but you don't know. A lot of people don't know her name.
Okay.
You were talking about the plot.
That
of
might
the
have
first,
been hyperbole that I just indulged in.
The female Don Cheadle. She's going to put that on the top of her IMDb page.
Female Don Cheadle.
Adam Savage.
I hope I get to meet her and talk about that someday. Anyway, go ahead.
You were talking about the plot of the prequel to this, Rise of the Planet of the Apes with James Franco, which sets up the origins of Caesar, which is a character
the
from
lead ape,
right?
Yeah.
And it's, if you remember the original 5 Planet of the Apes movies, it was time travel. It was time paradox that brought about the Planet of the Apes.
Right. Charlton Heston goes forward in time to a world that shouldn't exist because it hasn't been created yet because he had to bring the apes back in order to make the world exist. Spoilers.
But yes, that's exactly what happens.
Right.
First movie, Charlton Heston, you find out it's the future. Second movie, he dies and whatever. And the apes, at the end of that, the apes go back in the past, have the baby because they're already intelligent, which is Caesar.
Right.
And then there's Battle for Planet of the Apes. And then he brings about the revolution.
Right.
They condense that in this reboot, this 20th Century Fox reboot, into 2 movies, basically. The Rise, which is Caesar's origins, which I think
But there's no time travel.
There's no time travel whatsoever.
That makes the whole thing much better.
No time travel whatsoever. The Rise of the Planet of the Apes movie is, I thought was very, you didn't rewatch it, but I thought it was very powerful and very resonant because of the relationship between Caesar and James Franco.
Absolutely. And that tension between who you root for and the amount of empathy they manage to bring to the situation of a non-human entity on Earth.
Which is something that is throughout this entire second movie. There are two factions. It's the apes who are now who have built up a colony and their own home, and the surviving humans, 1 out of every 500, who survived the simian flu. We as humans want to root for the humans, but
you spend the whole movie wondering who you should be rooting for, or feeling like I want to root for them, and now they're together. Oh, I don't know who to root for, and that tension is very real in the film.
Because we're spoiling at the very end of the movie, you realize the humans are peripheral to the story of the movie. It is not a story about human survival.
No, we all know where the story is going.
Yeah, and
Charlton Heston shows up.
The main human characters, Jason Clarke and Keri Russell, and they just. There is no epilogue for them. They fade away into the darkness.
They do. They literally leave a legacy with Caesar,
and they teach him. It's more about informing him,
right?
And about the apes learning about themselves,
yes,
and how they build their society.
So the concept, like the science fiction concept of we are not the first main, self-aware civilization on the planet, is one of my absolute favorites. Like the doing archaeology and realizing that there's whole other civilizations that came before us. And I'm not talking about like the Romans, but I'm talking about the giant cricket overlords or whatever. So do they explore that at all with this, or is that presumably there's another movie coming, right? There's a third movie coming.
They have others.
Oh yeah,
they have others in the pipeline. Yes. They're planning to do more. I think this one's going to do great business.
Yes, I think it's a 7, and we both gave it a 7 because it's spectacular. But unlike, for example, we did a spoiler cast for Edge of Tomorrow, a Tom Cruise movie, which I think is just a more fun film.
Yeah,
this movie, I didn't feel it was tense and suspenseful and beautiful, but it didn't have the fun.
Is it?
Well, I'll tell you where I thought it was really great is there's a tension between. One of the movie's central points is a tension between Caesar and his sort of best friend and second in command, Koba. And Koba is more self-absorbed. Caesar is more a natural leader of his people. And the performance of Koba is astonishing. And the characterization, he's the one-eyed ape from the first one with the scar across his eye, is phenomenal. But when Koba tricks the humans with his whole sort of step and fetch it, terrifying kind of like, I'm not threatening because you think of me as a dumb ape, is actually, I think, one of the most, it's an impressive little bit of filmmaking because you have these, because there's a clear allegory for racism across this film.
There's always been a clear allegory for racism.
Absolutely.
This is the card on top of the head. This is Tarantino in Inglourious Basterds, right?
Is it the plight of the Negro? No, then it's King Kong.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's very intense and terrific. I enjoyed the spit out of it. My son was very he was a great person to sit next to because he was like jumping out of his seat and like clapping and.
Can we do a little detour about the experience of watching the movie?
Yeah. So this is a world premiere.
This is the first time you've been to a world premiere.
First time, and I got through just like not how you got through. You got through contact a friend, and I was there with the press people. It was in San Francisco. The movie is set in San Francisco, just like the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the James Franco one.
And they shot some of it here.
And they did shoot some of it here. So
the wedding planner was here too.
Godzilla was also here.
The Rock.
You mean the wedding singer or the wedding planner?
Wedding planner, the J-Lo movie.
The J-Lo movie.
J-Lo, Matthew McConaughey.
Was shot in New York.
Yeah, but it was set here.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, they go on a date to Dolores Park and watch a movie.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So don't watch that movie. It's bad.
Is it bad?
Yeah.
I love J-Lo.
I love movies set in San Francisco, though.
I love J-Lo.
We should have a movie set in San Francisco Film Festival.
Yeah, okay.
It starts with Bullet.
No, Norm is having trouble.
Sorry, Norm.
No, it starts with Vertigo.
Oh, right. Okay. So that's mostly
You
North
gotta
Bay.
go all the way
You
back.
can go to the Birds if you wanted, but
That's Bodega Bay. That's not San Francisco.
okay.
Don't make me put on my muscle suit.
So the movie
Please don't put on the muzzle suit again.
set here, and so the premiere is here. And when we say it's a world premiere, this is the first time. This is where all the actors get to go.
Yeah, they were all there.
For actors, they watch the movie possibly for the first time, unless they're heavily involved with the producing or the editing. in the world premiere. So someone who like Judy Greer, she's an ape in the movie, but she's not a main character. She's a supporting character. Doesn't have lines really at all.
And I mean, I assume a lot of times they're just working on a green screen or in a mocap suit, and then they go away and come back and they see themselves as apes.
Yeah. So they get to watch it here. And it was at the Palace of Fine Arts, which is a lovely theater. It's one of the buildings that was made for the World's Fair.
Yeah.
The first World's Fair here in San Francisco.
And the home of the old Exploratorium.
Yes, exactly. A lovely theater done in 3D. And when I got there, first of all, I decided what to wear to a premiere because I got to take it's a world premiere. I got to wear a suit.
Yeah.
So put on a suit and got there. And there's a whole red carpet, which they don't let the normal people go through. And it's all set up so all the cameras.
They call them normals.
The normals. I call them the chuds. I'm a chud. I was a chud at this movie.
Cannibalistic human underground dwellers.
Yeah. That's right. I was a chud.
Humanoid.
Humanoid.
Got the seating. So
were the other press people wearing suits?
oh yes, when people they're wearing they're wearing whatever their LA whatever
I
they're
wore
on
a polo
camera.
shirt and a blazer.
That's good. That's very casual, but up. So
in the theater, it's like a mid-sized theater. I would say maybe 800 people or so.
Yeah.
60% of it is reserved seating, like clear signs on the seats, and this is the best seats in the house, reserved.
Center
rows.
The fillet cut.
Exactly. But because they can't get 800 people or pay for 800 people from production to watch the movie, I'm sure it would be nice if all the camera people who made the movie got to watch at the premiere. They have to fill the seats with the press people and also
people who win the radio shows.
Exactly. There were plenty of people there who won the radio shows, and they tell you to get there early, they park. Also, they had a full security detail there, telling people where to go, and a whole fleet of like black suburban SUVs, tinted windows in the back.
Yes, and I want to just tell you is I'll let you continue, but I'll tell you that as I walk like a cordon through something like this, one of my favorite things is the security people because they are absolutely a core Mythbusters fan base, and the world over, guys who work security, guys and women who work security at places like this are incredibly professional. They've seen everything. They've seen everyone. They are hard to impress. And they are, like I said, an absolute manifestation of professionalism. And still, I frequently see a little gleam in the eye when they see me and a little simpatico. So as I was leaving last night, I just walked up to this door, one of those Exploratorium doors. It's like 40 feet tall. Yeah. And I was like, is this how I get out? And the guy goes, for you it is. And then he opened the door for me and let me out.
Nice.
Sorry, go ahead.
Walked in and they don't, we get, the normal people get to sit in the back 3 rows and the front 3 rows. I'm more than happy to sit in one of those rows. You want to sit obviously in the center in the back. The other premiere I'd been to was in the same place for the Game of Thrones premiere. So what they do is let the normal people, so I was surrounded by some journalists, there's like some father and daughter who won a radio show contest were sitting next to me. Like, okay, totally fine. And then the middle, like 6 rows, were they put the actors in the center of those and buffer them with their friends and family and their special guests.
So they're hard to get to. And it's continental seating, so there's no aisles. It's you enter from the side.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Is that what that's called? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know about that because I hate it, but a lot of theaters that we play in are continental seating. I mean, it makes it hard to pick people out of the crowd.
Yeah.
Because they're welcome in the center. So the middle 2 rows are empty until the movie starts, basically.
Yeah.
All the actors and producers are still doing the red carpet.
Quite late.
And then that's how you know where you want to sit. You want to sit like maybe 2 rows right behind. That's the eyesight to Gary Oldman. There goes Jason Clarke. And then there's a nice introduction. The CEO of 20th Century Fox Entertainment presented the movie, said fewer than 10 people had seen that cut of the movie.
Okay.
The director, Matt Reeves,
he came out and talked about making the film.
Very gracious.
Did he was he the director of the first film too, or was it someone else?
So.
Okay.
I think it was someone else.
I don't think so. Yeah.
And then all the actors stood up and waved and took a bow, and it was.
I will say for the record, this is the second time I've been within 3 feet of Andy Serkis and still did not have the guts to go up and say hello. I really I love that guy.
You just stand behind him quietly going, precious. Precious.
Well, I did.
You want to do.
That's not the cool way to do it, but he'd notice.
He was in John Landis's last movie, Burke and Hare, and John gave me contact information for Andy so that because I wanted to ask him if he was going to be at Comic-Con, did he want to come on stage and sing "I Will Survive" with me as a duet as Gollums. because I can do the Gollum voice.
So it's amazing.
I never heard back from him. I mean, look, he's a busy guy. He was directing Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, right? He's the second unit director on the Hobbit films. Keri Russell, who many people might remember from Felicity, is not only a phenomenal actress, but just so pretty. I mean, and I know that's like one of her jobs is to be really, really pretty. She's really good at it.
She was so good in Mission Impossible 3.
Dude, totally.
I was so bummed that like it was a key part. It's a small part.
I know. No, and she's a fantastic actress. If you want to see some great acting by a lovely bevy of female actresses, there's a wonderful Joan Allen, Kevin Costner movie called The Upside of Anger, which is actually a terrific and serious little movie about a difficult mom and a bunch of daughters. And Kevin Costner plays his signature slotted role. He's been slow cooking forever, that of a washed up sports dude.
Oh yeah,
that is
baseball, hockey.
That is his
golf.
wheelhouse.
What are his?
Man.
Which one is it, man?
In that new movie like Draft Day.
Yeah,
and, like,
man. I mean, that is just. He's born to play those roles.
I'm going to go ahead and tell
you. For the love of the game.
Right.
There is every spring in my house, we sit down, we load up Bull Durham. We watch Bull Durham. It is a phenomenal movie.
Totally.
Holds up.
Bull Durham, Tin Cup, For the Love of the Game.
So good.
I love Tin Cup.
Even Field of Dreams is okay. It's not a movie about sports, though.
No. And I love Tin Cup because I love Renee Russo, too.
Renee Russo is great.
She's fabulous. Anyway, Keri Russell's lovely.
Yes. And then all the actors who are there who played
Apes.
Ape part.
Yeah.
Right. So to tie it back to when we talked about the Tim Burton movie, those were actors in costumes and Rick Baker makeup. Here it's all motion capture.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's with you. I spent the first 20% of the movie because apes are on screen a lot. It's all but mostly about the apes. I spent
half the movie.
I spent about first 20% of the movie whenever an ape was on screen. That looks like really good CG. Like trying to pick out the CG.
So your first 3 rows?
I was the back 3 rows.
Back 3 rows. Okay.
And then the rest of the movie,
You were just on.
it was the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. I will say the thing that they did really beautifully, the fur CG work was shockingly good.
And that's it's a really hard, like, if you
I know.
Look at the history of fur and start with, I mean, it didn't start getting good until Monsters, Inc. And even that's still kind of fuzzy and looks like a bad
and
acrylic
that's a long
carpet.
time after Mighty Joe Young, which was also...
That was pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. But so the fur was amazing. They did a lot of... They played around a lot with bokeh, with depth of field to make stuff really feel like you were looking at film of ape hands. And then the sound design of the rough hands touching, which was a key element in the film, was terrific. I thought that some of the animation of the apes swinging and landing
Didn't have weight.
And that is... I know that's one of the hardest things to do, and animation is, I mean, I know a lot of animators. I know this is where the rubber meets the road, and it's just something that it tends to stick out
Looks
to me.
cartoony or
But that being said,
ragdolly.
the facial movement of the apes and the amount of communication, the eyes and the sweat and the tears and the blood and everything, 100%. I totally was the same with you. And for most of the movie, I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, and the stuff, you had to have a big set piece of apes fighting. You had to have that. That was much less thrilling than when Koba and Caesar, when they fight, the first fight they have, and Koba's on the ground.
Yeah, with the blood in his teeth.
Oh my goodness, that looked amazing.
It's the best CG I've ever seen.
Yeah,
really?
Full stop. And everything in the frame is CG. By the way, one of our builders on MythBusters, Joe, worked on Iron Man 1 and 2 and a bunch of other Hollywood films, and he visited the set. All the exteriors were shot in Louisiana, and he visited the set, which was basically in this parking lot of the Ape Village.
Oh, cool.
It's one of the most impressive sets he has ever seen in his life. That Caesar's home with that built full scale.
They built
full scale. A whole Ape Village was built full scale for all those shots, and they had actors moving among them, and they were replacing them and everything. Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, the CG was fantastic. Of course, the final shot of the movie is up close, like looking into the camera.
Looking into Caesar's eyes.
So is this
which is the opening shot too?
Is this the movie where Caesar loses control of the ape revolution and it starts to take a dark turn?
And then and
they start hunting humans, or not so much?
We can leave a couple of things for.
Okay.
But this is where the ball starts rolling. Let's put it that
toward
way.
the human genocide.
But it's also, what they've done is you could have attempted, and sequels are totally guilty of this all the time. You could have attempted to cover too much material. It's actually quite impressive how small this whole movie takes place in the span of a week.
Yeah, it's a very small story.
And it's a very small story. And yet so much is covered from an expository standpoint that doesn't feel like someone's just downloading information into you. It feels like you're watching a genuine struggle and you're empathizing with different characters at different times to understand what's going on, and it's really effective.
You never have one of those scenes where at the end you feel like the guy should just break the fourth wall, look at the camera, and be like, "Well, that was a lot of exposition, wasn't it?"
Actually, no. And what they did is they got rid of most of their world building in the first 35, 50 seconds of just sound design and a shot of how the flu takes over the world. And you're hearing
was a direct connection to the end of the last movie, the end credits of the last movie, which was the planes going out and spreading the flu.
Yeah.
A very different movie from that, the Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
The story that they wanted to tell. Caesar, it's 10 years later.
Yeah.
First of all, so Caesar's an old man. He's an old ape. It's generations have come by. So.
He's beautiful. He's a beautiful characterization, and I love the way he stands. I love the way... Yeah, there's this beautiful way in which each of the apes has its own lope and its own carriage, and they really, really hold to it. So you just forget that you're watching a tremendous amount of effort in special effects, and
that's the best thing you can say about an effects movie.
Exactly.
And you believe that this is a world that can exist where apes can talk.
Totally.
Right? It's not like, oh, this is silly. Apes are talking. Like they acknowledge, oh my God, it's crazy. Apes are talking. But then you fall right into it. I like when we talked to Damon Lindelof, when you interviewed him, you talked about how movies can be summed up, the theme of movies should be summed up in one word. Like Star Trek, the theme of the Star Trek movies is friendship above all. And I thought for this movie, leadership was the theme throughout, both on the ape side and the human side, because you had the Jason Clarke and Gary Oldman character. And and I rewatched the trailer because the movie, it's actually before the movie's out right now. The trailer is a little misleading.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's an exercise in
Interesting. Well, I mean, trailers misleading, you don't say.
Exactly.
They're trying to beat Transformers, right? It comes out next week? Or for us next
2
week?
weeks after. Yeah,
Okay.
July 11th.
So I will say that last night at the party, I found myself talking for a while to one of these lovely young men, Gary Oldman's sons. And Gary Oldman's in the film, and he's wonderful. And his son is a fan of Tested.
Oh,
and
cool.
Said, so you do the stuff on Tested? I said, yeah. And he goes, is Norm from Tested here? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I thought I recognized him. I thought you'd appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Adam. I didn't get to meet Gary Oldman or his sons.
I'm sorry.
Well, maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Yeah.
I think that's a...
Yeah, I think it's a good place to call it.
Yeah, go see it. We gave it a 7.
Yeah.
Unanimous.
And it's not like an IGN 7 where everything's between 7 and 8. This is 7's good for us.
Yeah. We're really thinking about all of our favorite movies when we're given that.
And I think we
rating.
did a good job not spoiling too much about the movie.
I think so.
I'm done with spoilers.
What do you mean?
I think spoilers are a bullshit excuse for people to bitch about something on the internet. You should go and enjoy something for what it is, not worrying. Plot is the least important thing in almost everything that we do.
Yeah. Interesting.
We can talk about that later.
Okay. That's for another time.
Yeah, exactly. And that'll do it for us this week. As always, if you want to like us, rate us, tell us we're terrible or awesome, you can do that on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus.
Yes, you can.
Friendster.
All of that.
The Live Journal. All of these places we are. Pinterest. Pin us on Pinterest. We'd love that.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll be back next week with another episode of Still Untitled. See you guys later.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.